GETCRACK. Wake up, motherfucker.
Making ends meet tonight. If you wince every time that the cashier says your grocery bill total or dread getting the check after a night out of eating, you are not alone.
Yeah, food prices are a whopping 28% up since 2019, and economic experts expect prices to keep rising this year. So when your reporter, Tori Mason, learned about one restaurant that's committed to keeping its prices low, she wanted to check it out.
We have a lot of variety here.
Hundreds of bright-colored packets stack high on a wall. Inside is a foreign food.
This is the Shin ramen here.
Familiar to many.
I used to eat a lot of ramen growing up. I mean, I still eat a lot of ramen.
Ju Pyo and his family own Honggang Ramen. The self-serve noodle joint is drawing crowds for its variety.
Crab meat, kimchi, dumplings.
And its value.
And some of them are free.
A heaping bowl starts at $6, less than you'll spend at most spots and enough to keep them open.
We just don't want to be overcharging people. We just want to offer cheap meals to everybody.
Ramen's a unique economic indicator. For example, during COVID, when people are struggling, demand went way up.
People are being a lot more careful with their disposable income.
Denise Mickelson is with the Colorado Restaurant Association. Since COVID, they've seen major declines in traditional restaurants. Surviving means getting creative.
We're also seeing a lot more fast casual openings and clever ideas that use less labor and, have reduced food costs.
Increases in minimum wage and inflated supply have made it impossible for restaurants to keep old prices.
Menu prices can't go up at the same rate or customers complain.
With Hongkong's model,
You just open up your ramen.
there aren't many humans to complain to.
These are like induction heaters right here.
He says dining out shouldn't have to be a luxury. And while restaurants fight to stay out of hot water,
It pours the water out for you.
the more boiling here, the better.
So I'm just glad that we could bring it here and make it work.
In Aurora, I'm Tori Mason, covering Colorado First.
And Tori, just one of your reporters in Aurora, joining Kelly and Michael. They are part of your reporter team covering Colorado First. So if you have an issue in your neighborhood that you want your reporter
preparing a MIC value offering for the new year, an attempt to appeal to customers grappling with high costs. This as the company looks to bounce back from its recent E. coli outbreak. Kate Rogers has got all the juicy details. Kate.
Hi, Melissa. Yeah, I reported earlier today that McDonald's is working on that new McValue approach for next year that involves keeping the $5 value meal offer at launch this summer on the menu for the first half of the year, along with introducing a buy one, add one option for $1 more. Now, that option includes a double cheeseburger, a McChicken sandwich, 6-piece nuggets, and a small fry, or then breakfast options of a sausage McMuffin, sausage biscuit, or sausage burrito and a hash brown. That is according to a person familiar with the matter. Now, operators are still voting on these 2025 value offerings. The initiative, though, looks likely to pass. That's according to two people familiar. Now, in a statement, McDonald's said, quote, "We and our franchisees have heard customers loud and clear when it comes to keeping prices as affordable as possible, from the popular $5 meal deal to numerous local and in-app offers on the food they love. We went big on value this summer and fall, bringing fans even more ways to save when they visit McDonald's. And as we look to 2025, we're cooking up something even bigger. We can't wait to share what is in store." So executives obviously have been talking about this value platform and expanding upon it for the new year. So that reporting giving a first look at what looks to be on the table for 2025 and McDonald's, guys.
Hey, 2024. It is 2024, and you got to eat ramen and hamburgers. Come on. All right. November 21st, okay? And it was a busy day trading. Oh, man. Got a lot of stuff to show you guys. Holy shit. There's so many opportunities to trade today after NVIDIA's little earnings. And we had Bitcoin hit. Oh, man, look at this stock. Look at this stock. MSTR. What a beautiful short. Oh my God. This was such a lovely short. So I don't know what to say about this. I'm trying to think if I should go long here now. Bitcoin will definitely try to hit 100K. But we're already so close to 100K that a lot of these Bitcoin stocks, the buyers that pushed these things up this week, hoping for Bitcoin to hit 100, you're going to have to attract new buyers, because any new buyer here for MSTR, you're going to have to convince them that Bitcoin will hit 150 or 200 by Black Friday. If it doesn't, this thing could keep going down quite easily, even though Bitcoin itself will hit 100, 110. But oh man, that's a huge amount of damage right now. So yeah, be on the lookout for buying opportunities in these crypto stocks into Black Friday. I think so. So I'll try to re-enter Mara and all these other ones: CLSK, Mara, WULF, HUT, HUT, Core Z, CORZ, and of course MSTR, which I mentioned yesterday. Like, you can play these ETFs. So 2x MSTR is MSTU. Now, today is a bad day for anyone holding that. We are down negative 33% on that ETF. Now, I was playing this one. So this is the negative 2x. So this is the inverse ETF, 2 times MSTR. So this morning, I noticed the huge candle that we got. Okay, so if I do this, you see it reversed right away within 13 half an hour after open. Once I saw that, I was like, all right, this is it. It's over for this stock. Yeah, this bubble stock is over. So I got out when MSTR hit around 400. So I got out here. I mean, when you look at the chart, like you look at this hourly chart here, like, yeah, you could expect it to hit 380. So if you were shorting from here going down to 380, yeah, you could have waited all the way, but it's almost closing. So I'm not going to be greedy. I got out and I played it twice. So I played it right at the open, went down, played it again down here. And I'm like, I'm good. I don't like to do shorts. Honestly, that's not my thing. But since we have ETFs that do that for this stock, I was like, yeah, might as well. I mean, the charts are pretty obvious, pretty clear. And if we look at Bitcoin, so the way the Bitcoin was moving in pre-market, you probably could have shorted it in pre-market. So let me look at a 40-minute chart. So in crypto land, I'll use 40-minute and I'll use 7 minutes. And I'll have to explain that to you guys sometime down the line while I'm using that. But you could see here, this was during pre-market. Okay. So Bitcoin was already hitting 98 overnight. So I was like, all right. But the way it was moving down and coming back up 1 hour before the stock market opened was like, damn, it's losing a lot of momentum here. So the next few candles here so the timestamps here are in universal time. So that's like the Greenwich Mean Time, London time, basically, because the British Empire never sets, right? So we're still using the British Empire time. So from this point on, you can see all the candles moving down. And this was the first attempt to try to rescue it, because this was close to the support level when Bitcoin was around 96,700. But you see here, it jumps up and it comes right back down. So this was like within 20 minutes of market open. So once I saw that, I was thinking, ooh, shoot. I know it's going to go back up, but because it's losing so much momentum and because MSTR was already way, way stretched ahead, because you have to remember, MSTR was moving up all week while Bitcoin was, for the most part, moving sideways around 95,000. So MSTR, a lot of these buyers were already going ahead, right? They were already buying ahead of the event. So yeah, we know Bitcoin is going to 100,000 eventually, but you guys were already buying ahead of time. Who is going to buy above 500 for this stock anymore? You guys already pre-bought. So the tickets have already been bought for the show. There's nobody else going to be buying these scalp tickets for like over 500. So eventually you're going to retrace. You're going to have to retrace. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin goes up to 100K tomorrow. This thing, it has ran out of steam. There's nobody willing to buy at a higher price. So for me, it's just like, oh, this is short. So now, would you buy now? Because now in the 60, you look at the hourly chart here, it's like it's still supported on the 40 moving average, right? This yellow line. No, I wouldn't say so, because if you look at this MACD now, I'm introducing this indicator here. So if you go back to my earlier streams, this is another way to look at it. You're gonna wait for this thing to hit 0 and then buy and turn. If it crashes through 0, like if this blue line steepens and goes down harshly, then yeah, no, this is not going to recover anytime soon. This is just going to go sideways for the next month. All right, so avoid this stock. Now, Mara, on the other hand, so the crypto miner, it's been doing a good job trying to get back to 26, 25. After all the shorts try to blow it out here at 18, now does it mean it's going to break out? Yeah, that's still to be decided, because I don't even know if this thing has enough juice to get to 100. I mean, well over 100. You have to get well over 100,000 by Black Friday, okay? Because I'm thinking, my guess, I told you guys yesterday that we're going to have options, futures expiration on that Black Friday. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure from the market makers to keep this thing as close as possible to 75,000. It doesn't mean it's going to crash to 75,000, but I'm saying, like, once it hits 100, it's just going to move back down to maybe 90K, 80K. So, you know, it'll go towards it, right? 80 to 90K, let's say, around there. I mean, I doubt it can get to 80K. It has to be really extreme to do that, but 90 is doable. This thing could just retrace to 90 all the way to Black Friday. Then you'll buy on Black Friday all the crypto stuff again and trade it all the way back up into January. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting scenario wise. So for now, just keep that in mind. I wouldn't be in a rush to buy anything if you're looking for a swing trade. But for day trading, this is perfect. This is the perfect environment. You're going to see all these people fighting at 100,000. They're just going to be like fight. And then you're going to see these stocks move up and down like crazy. So yeah, go for it. If you can multitask, you can look at all the stocks that I've mentioned and try to trade all of them at once. See, so you could have been long Mara, short MSTR. Like, you could have done multiple trades at once, like with different of these stocks. Like, I don't know. You have to be a real good multitasker. I'm not that type. Okay, so and you have to recognize the patterns really quickly. Like, you have to see these patterns very fast. So, but I'm just telling you, next week probably quiet week for the stock market, but a lot of excitement for the crypto market. So as we enter Thanksgiving, so Nvidia is over with, Jerome Powell's over with, elections are over with. We're done. What support level for MSTR? I mean, I don't know, man, because the problem with MSTR is, like I said yesterday, we've crossed over the 324.25 area. That area was last hit in .com days of 2000. So March 2000, the year 2000. Anything above that is new. This is brand new. It's all about emotions. So the only way MSTR can keep moving up significantly is that people are believing that Bitcoin will hit 200K sooner rather than later, because there's no reason for it to really be above here. After it crossed over, it's going to keep retesting this area, make a new range. So it could bounce between 300 and 500 easily. You could day trade, swing trade it between 300, 500, 300, 500, like for the rest of December. You know, it could be that way. I have no idea. So I'm just putting it out there that you could just trade it that easily and just keep making 60, like 30% one way, 30% the other way, 30%. That's like free money, man. That's like a freaking ATM machine. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, Nvidia hit a high. You know, yeah, Nvidia. Yeah, Nvidia was a circle jerk because there were so many idiots playing options on it. So yesterday, the white John Galt came up on here and told me buy puts, buy puts. Like, okay, look, options you can't really trade beyond open market hours, right? You can maybe trade it like 30 or 1 hour before and 1 hour or 30 minutes depending on your broker after the close. But for the most part, you can't. So look at what they did. So let's say I bought puts the day before earnings on Nvidia. What did they do? They just pushed it all the way up to 152 to squeeze me out. So basically, if I had puts, I would have been under tremendous pressure to sell, and I probably would have sold. And then it reverses, and anybody with calls would have got like under tremendous pressure to sell. So both puts and calls got wiped out. Exactly what I thought it would do. Because the market makers who sell you the options don't want either side to make money. This is the perfect scenario where Nvidia does absolutely nothing. It's just bouncing back and forth plus minus 2%. Like, so the CNBC stuff I showed you yesterday was like, oh, Nvidia is going to go up and down by 12%. It didn't do any of that. So whoever gambled on options for Nvidia on either side probably didn't make any money, probably lost money because it went nowhere. And it's like, you idiots just see. So once all these options are cleared, then we'll know where Nvidia really wants to go, up or down. So all they're doing right now into Friday is to wipe out anybody who tried to gamble on Nvidia. Like, that was the dumbest thing you could have ever done, because they didn't want either side to make money. That's it. We're just back to where we were 1 week ago. Stupid. Completely moronic. Like, if you wanted to short Nvidia, you should have done this before options expiration for monthly options expirations. All these idiots that are trying to like gamble on weekly options got burnt. So that's why when you do options, like, you got to know what you're doing and you got to know where your edge is. If you have no edge, don't gamble. All right? I rather take look, I rather do layups and free throws. I'm not here to do 3-pointers, dunks. Like, no trade is going to be a dunk or a damn 3-pointer from half court every time. All right? So all the people that come in here and try to like give you advice about like all these like easy, oh, I can predict the future exactly. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm just here to make the easy moves, the easy ones. So if I was shorting Nvidia, I would have done it here into options expiration last week, and I would have been done with it. I wouldn't have played earnings at all, because I know it's manipulated. So anybody that comes in here thinks they can outsmart the casino and say, oh, yeah, it's going to land here this day and that. No, they ain't going to. No, forget it. Don't listen to them. So I never come on here saying I predict anything. All I'm telling you is, like, I see levels. I see support. I see resistance. This is the best chance to be long, the best chance to be short, and that's it. I'm not guaranteeing you it's going to work out. I'm just saying it's the best chance. Okay, so that's all you can do. And right now, we're looking at Tesla. It's holding up quite well above 280. I think by next week I'll have to see how Tesla does, but I think Tesla will move up for the next quarter. So next 3 months, Tesla will make a new high, probably significant high. So watch for that. I have to do some more analysis on it, see what price it will go up to. But anyway, let's see what more videos I got here. Oh, here was yesterday's chart master. So they have some chart guy on CNBC. He was talking about MSTR. So here we go.
Soaring 10% for a third straight day of double-digit gains, trading now at record highs. The stock benefiting from the post-election crypto surge, having more than doubled since then. But the chart master thinks the top could be in. Carter Worth is out with a note today saying, directly, pointedly, sell it all. Carter, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a very unusual circumstance. And before we look at the charts, we know that It has a relationship with Bitcoin, but therein is the issue. Here's a 5-year comparative chart. Just to think, since the August low, that was the low for the S&P, the low for Apple and NASDAQ. Since the August low, this stock is up 5x. Bitcoin has simply doubled. It's diverging to the point where, regardless of what it is, it's no longer tethered to what is the story, apparently, Bitcoin. But let's look at 2 charts of MicroStrategy. Here is a 5-year chart, and it's log scale because you wouldn't be able to see it if it was arithmetic, how much it's moved. Second and final chart is with the 150-day moving average, the smoothing mechanism, and it is.
So yesterday I was talking about logarithmic and arithmetic chart. So go back to yesterday's video and watch it for that explanation.
Basically as far above trend as you're going to get. And so, listen, steep and uncorrected can always get steeper, but parabolic things typically end the same way, which is out of nowhere you get a shocking drop in gap. And I would say that's the kind of thing that happens here and now.
Is there a support level for MicroStrategy?
Well, not particularly, right? When you're literally, I mean, here's the expression: it's going up and to the left. And think about every day you got to put the bar out to the right when you have a bar chart. It's literally going to fall in on itself, so to speak. And you know, I don't know what's driving it. Perhaps you all have talked about that or have the answer. But you know, one client, and this is, you know, a big institutional client, he heard this literally: the more expensive the stock gets relative to Bitcoin, the more money they can raise and then buy more Bitcoin, like a flywheel effect. That's insane.
Before we let you go, Carter, NVIDIA.
There you go. I mentioned this the first time I came on John Gall's channel. I said, that's how MSTR keeps its money pumping. The stock goes up, then Bitcoin goes up because they're buying Bitcoin. Then Bitcoin goes up, then MSTR goes up. So because they're all tied together. Like he said, it's a flywheel. So this is a type of perpetual motion machine, you know, in a way. So it's pretty clever, a way to boost your stock price. And also they also issue bonds. So they can issue bonds, get loans to buy more Bitcoin. And it wouldn't even affect the stock price because those bonds, even though they're incurring more debt, will just buy Bitcoins that are going up in price. So as long as momentum is good, MSTR can start outpacing the actual underlying asset that they hold.
What do you see here?
Yeah, well, it's a non-event, it turns out, and obviously in a way that's important because it's not so much if it had done yet another good quarter, if it had missed and done bad things post-trade. I would point out, and this is important at least by my work, here is a 1-year chart of NVIDIA, and you'll see 2 moving averages. There's the smoothing mechanism, 150-day, and the stock has touched it to the penny 3 times, hasn't touched the 200-day once.
Alrighty, so here are the Wyckoff guys talk about Bitcoin. So let's look at what they say. And yes, we should watch the 100,000 level. It's more of a psychological level. So Bitcoin itself, and even the stocks, you know, when you hit 100 versus 99, there's a big psychological effect when you get the 3 digits in a stock. So Bitcoin, you know, is more extreme, you know, when it goes up levels. So 100,000 is something that people will look just because it's a nice big round number.
Two camps of people. One camp is, listen, I've been in this position in Bitcoin for quite some time. Is this the time to sell? And the second camp is, I have missed the whole move. Is this the time to buy? And what an amazing behavior by those two groups. And I think that both express the emotional worry, anxiety about this move, which is to be expected, because when something as popular as Bitcoin moves so much, the standard deviation increases dramatically, you are going to have the sentiment shift, which is going to be pronounced. And my answer to both of the groups is no, you do not sell, because this type of strength actually suggests further continuation, maybe even after the reaction, but still, it's not going to just stop after the initial move, because institutions are still buying. And no, you don't want to stay on the sidelines as well for the second group. You have to find some kind of point of entry opportunistically, obviously. And that's going to be really challenging after this move. As we look back into the history of how Bitcoin moved before. So I think that, Bruce, we are probably somewhere here after this and after this, coming like after the new high. This is just down sloping, so just the new highs, the consolidation is here. This is more horizontal, so this consolidation is here. So look at what's ahead of us analog wise. Obviously here, the move was so aggressive right here. Same calls are coming in. Should I hold? Should I sell? And I say, like, find the place in this uptrend where you could potentially come into the position. Something like this, something that reacts and still shows the strength of buying and still shows the strength of the momentum and continuation. And you're going to have a lot of movement in front of you until you see something more meaningful.
All right, so that's good. That's bullish. Let's see what happens in the coming days. But I think once we get to 100 and get over it a bit, we'll go sideways into January, and then once the new year hits, yeah, we'll keep moving up. Maybe mid-January it'll start again. So maybe we'll go up into mid-December into Christmas. Maybe that's how it is. But from that point on, yeah, it'll stall out, and we gotta wait for the next move, which will probably start maybe later January, February, or maybe not even that. Maybe we'll continue going sideways into early March and then move up in spring. So yeah, we'll have to wait. But April will be the next top. Sometime April to May is what I expect the next high of Bitcoin will be once we hit this intermediate top, and then that will be the next one for the next quarter. Okay, so but yeah, get ready. Either case, you gotta get your powder dry and ready to go. Let's see. Okay. Nvidia will result in. Okay, I'll play this video. Something about Nvidia causing a Santa Claus rally. Well, that remains to be seen, right?
But let's get to Dan Ives now, Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities. As this market digests this news, Dan, we are seeing a little pairing of those declines. You were looking for a mic drop quarter. Could you call this that?
I think you print this press release off and you can put it in the Louvre. Just frame it. Oh. Because look, I mean, what you're really seeing here, this is a stock that's going to be green tomorrow. I mean, what they're putting up in terms of Hopper, in terms of overall growth, it's exactly what the bulls want, and he'll continue to underpromise. I mean, next quarter that could be a 4 in front of it in terms of ultimately revenue. This is just the beginning of the AI revolution. $4 trillion on its way.
Sure, and long term, you may be very well right, but are you not concerned about this plus or minus 2% that the company is reporting on revenue, simply because the market wants the company to beat and beat well every quarter?
Yeah, if you looked up sandbag special in the dictionary, you'd see this guidance. And I think Street's going to look through it. I think there's a stock that probably will be up even on the conference call, because if you look at everything that they did here in terms on the data center, you could Hopper, we could be talking 5, 7, 8 billion per quarter. That was just ultimately many thought it could just be a few billion. So as this all plays out and you start to look at numbers over the next, call it 12 to 18 months, the godfather of AI, Jensen, NVIDIA, continue to be in that Mount Rushmore. And it just shows it's starting with NVIDIA. Now second, third, fourth derivatives playing out. That's why it's 9:30, 10 p.m. in this AI party. That goes to 4 a.m.
Oof. Has the time changed at all since you came out with that?
It was 9 p.m.
Okay.
And now we're 9:30, 10 p.m.
Okay, got it. So my other question to you, since there are so many commentary, there's so much comments on Blackwell, how production will ramp up into fiscal 2026, the production shipments will begin in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025, which is the current quarter. Does NVIDIA break out Blackwell revenue, or is this something that you and investors always need to reverse engineer out of the data center numbers?
Yeah, essentially investors reverse engineer it. But if you look in terms of some of the wording there, basically saying any of those heating issues, don't worry about it. And I think that's going to give more and more comfort. This is going to ram significantly in terms of that. And I think that continues to be the story, because because we've talked about from our Asia trip, demand to supply 15 to 1. And there's only one game in town, and he's wearing a black leather jacket. His name's Jensen. And I think that's why this continues to be still in the early days of what I believe we'll be talking about $4 trillion on.
You mentioned the overheating issues, and these are Blackwell, overheating, which might require redesign of the servers housing the chips. And the companies that make the servers are Dell, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, Supermicro. Do they end up carrying the cost of having to redesign everything?
Yeah, but ultimately, I think that is something that's really noise. And from all the checks we do, that's why, look, when you're at the top of the mountain, you're always going to have people trying to take shots at you. But if you look at how NVIDIA is playing out here, there's really no production issues as this all ramped. And that's why when you hear from Jensen today, I think investors are going to realize this AI revolution, now it's about second, third, fourth derivatives. You look what's going to play out across software, across the rest of semis, across cybersecurity. If you're a tech bull, this combined with obviously the last few weeks in terms of Trump, Musk, and everything we see, this is what I think is really going to be a setup to a Santa Claus rally.
So we are seeing NVIDIA saying that Blackwell is going to exceed supply for several quarters, but that there are some supply constraints. Now, you do those channel checks, Dan. Tell us the truth. Where have you seen those bottlenecks or those potential places where supply will be constrained?
Everyone's waiting in line. They're at the velvet ropes, and there's only one party, and that's really, in terms of NVIDIA and Jensen, I think the issue there is that you want those next chips. That's what everyone, that's the new oil or gold.
Yeah, but that's the customer side. I'm talking about from the supply side, from NVIDIA being able to actually deliver these.
It's ramping. It's ramping. Look, like any new production, any new chip, it's going to take time to ramp. But I would say if you thought relative to 3 months ago, ahead of expectations. So you sit there right now, if Jensen's flying the plane, you're in 3A watching Netflix feeling pretty good.
In terms of pricing power, can Jensen Huang raise the prices of those Blackwell chips even more than what he has already? I mean, what are you expecting on that front? And should people look for maybe increased prices for those chips?
They definitely can, but right now, it's all about market share. They're just going to continue to go further and further out. And even when you look at what the hyperscalers are spending, you have now $400 billion of CapEx, AI CapEx, just in your sites. Then you think about sovereigns, you look at private, look at everything else. It just shows we are in an unparalleled, once in a 40-year tech trend, and that's why that Mount Rushmore is Jensen along with Nadella, Karp, and others.
You talked earlier about how there's a velvet rope and a lot of people waiting to buy these chips. The hyperscalers are at the front of the line, but if you bring in sovereign buyers into the mix, where do they stand? Do they get to jump the line?
Sovereign's in the middle of the line. They're saying, oh, my name's in the list. They're like, look, you can't get in front of these people in the front, and that's big tech. Sovereign's still in the middle of the line. They will get in, and then behind them, it's with the rest of the Fortune 2000. That's why we're going to be talking about next year or two, $4 trillion, $5 trillion. This tech bull market, still in the early days.
Pump, pump, pump. Yeah, that guy loves to pump. Oh, yeah. All right. And, we're going to have a lot of liquidity next year, I believe. But the thing is, large caps in the NASDAQ 100, I'll tell you, I think they're about done. So the next move up, if semiconductors can get higher into January, that'll be it. That'll be the last big push in the NASDAQ 100. And what you'll see is the NASDAQ 100 will probably go sideways starting from February into the summer. And at that point, I would expect a lot more movement from small caps from now into November next year, 2025. And so that's why I highly recommend concentrating on trash stocks. So a lot of the tickers you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen here, where I say speculative, like you see the space stocks, the Rocket Labs, all these things, they move up and down like crazily. And so far, they're in an uptrend. I don't know if it'll continue in December or not, but I'm looking to buy more, So, yeah, so those penny stocks can be worth quite a bit just because there's a lot of people willing to speculate as long as the interest rates stay in a path going down into the summer. That's when you'll see a lot of movement there. And at least the economy stays strong. So we don't want interest rates to drop significantly. We don't want Powell to cut rates like crazy. But as long as we're in a good gliding path down, if people really believe in a soft landing for inflation, that's really where we want to be. That sweet spot. Okay. Okay. Anyway, let's see. What is the next video? Next video, I'm talking about hyperscalers. Okay. So before I get into the hyperscalers, let me show you the sectors for optical communications. Okay. I mentioned this before. So this is like the infrastructure type stuff. So I think this is a good thing to talk about, this sector here. So here, down here, I got a list of 4 stocks, okay? AAOI, APH, LITE, and COHR. Okay, let's go one at a time. So AAOI, I mentioned before, it had earnings a couple weeks ago, I believe, yeah. So it went up quite a bit, 65% that week. It's not a good company. It's not well run, but as long as this AI hype continues, I think it has some more room to go. So if we look here, it was around $1.67, 60 something cents, went up to $24, went back down to 7, and is back at 35. If you look at the long-term history of this stock, let's do a monthly here. It used to be at 100. So this was a one company stock, like one customer stock, I mean. It has one major customer. As long as that data center keeps buying, it'll keep pushing up like crazy. Otherwise, it just languishes and goes back down. So if the hype is still here, so now we're up 126% in the month. It was up 168% in June of 2023. We have a shot at going up to 100 from 35 into next year. Now, let's look at the legitimate companies, okay? So let's look at the legitimate companies. APH, that's Amphenol Corporation. So this is still in a good uptrend for the weekly chart. Light Lumentum, okay, LITE, had very good earnings as well, went up 28%. So this is also confirms this thing. And Coherent, owned by Stanley Druckenmiller. So this is a good long-term bet too, I guess. It's at $105, so COHR. So I'm going to be looking carefully at this. So these things moved up after NVIDIA's earnings, so that's a good sign. Now, the other one was VST. I believe Tropes was the one that mentioned this one. VST does the liquid cooling. So now, after testing the 116 support level, is now at 166. So this thing is still very strong after NVIDIA's earnings. So a lot of these support companies around NVIDIA have a lot more room to go compared to NVIDIA itself. And then what you're also going to want to look at is the software company. So the other support company is SMCI. I've talked about this enough times. It's right back at 29.70 cents. So $29.70. So if you did the trade correctly, let's see, you started buying when it dropped to 28 and down. You just did whatever trade you could to lower your cost basis. You got to 18. You bought a ton, which is what I did. Then you get up here on Tuesday at $28, and you sold initially before the NVIDIA earnings. Now, if you were very aggressive, you would have bought back, right, either before NVIDIA earnings or after NVIDIA earnings between 25 and 27, and now it's back at 30. It has room to go back up to 50. That was my end target, okay? So right here, I'll show you what I have partially in some of my portfolio here. So this will try to motivate you guys. because you need to get motivated. I think this is not to brag, okay? This is like if you study how to read charts correctly and you're really good at it, if you're really fast at analyzing things, and really good at multitasking here. So this is what I get at the end of a week, okay? So right now, SMTST and MSTZ were the shorts of MSTR. So you can look at that. That was just a day trade. I'm out of those. GME GameStop is the one I'm seeing if it can break 28 finally. It still hasn't. SMCI, this is what's left over. Okay. This is what's left over, what I have that I held. I'm trying to see if I can get into Lab U. This is the XBI leverage ETF 3 times biotech. And then I'll see if I'll buy TARC. So that's ARC and Tesla, all that. See if that's a good trade going into next month. And then natural gas, I think we're at the end of natural gas. Okay, so this shows you how much money you can make without options. But yeah, you have to have a lot more capital. Okay, like I do. If you have a smaller amount of capital, then that's why I keep talking about penny stocks. That's one way to do it. I keep trading them. Or we have to do options. I can't teach you that. So I don't know much about options and how to do them correctly. But if or futures, that's the other way, right? You can get leverage from futures as well. So if we go back to the charts, I'll show you some penny stocks right here, which have continued to do well. And I have no clue why they move the way they do, but we can just analyze the charts and see how they are. So the quantum computing stocks continue to do whatever they want and defy gravity. So IONQ is up 13% today. What reason? No reason. I guess there's just a lot of liquidity. And then we have qubits, QBTS, D-Wave Quantum. It took a hit into options expiration, and the whole week it's recovered. So right back where we started on last Thursday. So it's round trip. And you have Qubit, QUBT, Quantum Computing Inc. Same thing, similar, round trip. So yes, there are a lot of opportunities. When I see trash like this move, that means I can expect the rest of the boats to move. This is a good indicator for how the next couple months will go. You're going to have to grab as many stocks as possible like these that have good momentum. Now, today we had NOx Imaging earnings. And NVIDIA has invested about 50,000 shares, about 50,000 shares of it. So in the morning, it went down, came back up, and continued to move up. This is a very good sign. This, because it's such a garbage company, it's all the way at all-time lows, right? The all-time low was about $5. It touched that, nearly touched that. I am thinking it's a good speculative buy for next year. So I'm waiting on the small caps, okay? The rest of the small caps to go up. Okay, the other ones, ASTS, we already had earnings. It didn't do very well on earnings, but at least it's holding close to $25 a share. It's at 24 right now, so maybe it's building energy for the next move up. Lunar also had earnings. LUNR, that was 2 weeks ago. It's done very well since then. It keeps pumping every week. So the first week before earnings was 20%, second week 27%, the third week now 12%. I don't know how Friday will go, but yeah, put that on your watch list. So it's now at $14 even. So this was a SPAC. So now that it's above 10, it can fly back up to 100. I don't know. If it goes to 14 to 100, that'll be amazing. Let's see, Rocket Lab, RKLB. So now it's at $22. Its support and earnings, it stayed above $14.65. So that was a significant area, okay, of support. So $22, up 11% today. So yes, keep those in your watch list. if you're a gambler. Now we have Planet Labs. Planet Labs is the last space stock, and it will report earnings Monday, December 9th. It's up 13% this week, just following the other guys. Okay, so hold on to that. I guess 13 is, or $3, I mean $3.30. That's probably a good support area, or resistance area, I mean. It was support in 2023, now resistance at $3. So watch that area. So any of these stocks pull back, I would be eyeing for a buy, okay, in December into New Year's. And even after New Year's, probably a couple weeks after New Year's in January. So keep them in mind, because I think, yeah, they could be good plays later on. Now, okay, we have nuclear stocks, NNE. This is a new one, right? So this week has done quite well because today was up 26%. So it's still moving up. Nano nuclear energy. I don't know if there was any news or not, or it's just following the market. But yeah, it's still in a good trend. So you got to keep that one. And LTBR and LEU, I think, are trying to form a new base. So we'll have to wait and see. And the rest of the mining stocks. So I look at the uranium ETF, URNM. You see? So it hit close to support again in November 12th. And then it bounced right off. So it's doing as I suspected it would try to do. And then once it breaks 50 again, nuclear stocks will keep going up. So keep those in mind, uranium, nuclear, anything like that. So the three stocks I mentioned previously, like keep those in your watch list and watch them. EXK, silver. This silver stock yesterday had offering new shares priced at $4.60. So the stock crashed down to around $4.50. And silver and gold are not ready to move back up yet in any meaningful way, but keep them. GDX is the ETF. KGC is one of the mining stocks, gold mining stocks I'm looking at. And EXK is my favorite silver mining stock. So that one, yeah, you can make a quick buck on because it moves quite well. So from $2-3 to $5. I think Antoine took advantage of that, so that was good. So there's probably plenty. Hims Biotech. So this one. So King TL bought it to fix his erection problems, and yeah, yesterday was a good buy, so I added. So I bought some on Monday. So after Friday, I saw the opening on Monday. I see that move from 1960. 1950, bought some there at the open. It held that. Okay, keep moving up. Now it pulled back yesterday at 21. So now we are in new territory. We have to clean up this chart a bit. Okay. So we're not out of the woods yet, but today is a good day, up 10, 11%. All right. Now, if we're going to talk about telehealth, TDOC, I was mentioning crap stocks at the bottom. One of them was Nova, the solar cells company. This one, it's been down all year. It's been down multiple years, actually, since 2021. Now we're seeing a turnaround. So I don't know if the company is good or not. I think it's probably trash. But as a trade, yes. It's up today at 15%. I think this is continuing its turnaround since the bottom in August of $7. Now it's up at 10, so I'm looking to buy there. So previous stock was HIMS, HIMS. They do the Ozempic generic type stuff. It's not Ozempic. They use another company's drug as a generic. Ozempic, that'd be Novo Nordisk. I think these guys, they use Eli Lilly, and then they make a generic of Eli Lilly's equivalent drug. Okay, so we have that one to look at. And Nova, I mentioned this solar company is trying to make a base here. I think this stock has potential into New Year, so keep watching it. You can try to trade it, I suppose. It's very volatile. You could probably try to trade it, but for now, I'm looking for this to complete a base at 4 to 5, and once it gets 5, it's ready to rocket back up to 9. I believe it can hit 9, maybe at least 6 to 8. Okay. So as a trade, swing trade, yes, that's on tap. Zim. So after earnings, so I sold just before earnings, and I sold some after earnings. I held some, even though yesterday's move was terrible. And then today, you get this nice crash right into back to the old area of like $23. So Zim, you got 23 to 30. This area now is the new range. I bought back at 23 and a half, around there. Whatever I sold those 2 days. So I have some old shares from 18 I kept, and then this one I'll add right back. Hopefully it should see 30 again within the month. And then after that, I suspect it'll get back up to 50. All right. So that's how that's gonna go. Zim, ZIM. Okay, so that's about it for updates on that. China, we had 2 earnings, Baidu, that were important, or actually 3, 4, but the top 2 is Baidu, BIDU, down 6% about at $81, and then PDD down 10%. This is Temu, okay, PDD, Temu, parent company. It's down to 104, so I'm looking to see where it ends here. And IQ, so IQE or whatever it is, IQ is the ticker symbol. It's down 7% at $2. And BEKE, this is KE Holdings, only down $1. So this is the only one that had a good reaction. So it was down to $19, but popped back up to 20. So yeah, watch. Let's see what we can get from China. See what we got. And KC, my favorite AI stock, but I still never traded. But I think you guys, you might find it interesting to trade. So now we're pulling back a bit. So let's see where it goes. Let's see on the weekly. Kingsoft Cloud Holdings, so KC. Yeah, we're kind of at the resistance area here, around $6, $7. So yeah, you see how it pulls back, and maybe if these moving averages on the weekly get closer to 4, we'll see how it goes into next year, okay, for China. So there's some Chinese stocks to look at, potential buys for next year. So next 2 months, I'll be looking and watching. Okay, so what's other videos? Yeah, we're going to talk about the hyperscalers here. Then continue on about the hyperscalers. So this one is, so hyperscalers are data centers that are much larger. So ANET, ANET, is one of the stocks to watch for those. But in general, it's the Magnificent Seven, right? NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, those things.
Now on set to break down the results, D.A. Davidson Managing Director Gil Loria got a hold rating on NVIDIA. That's special. Gil, welcome. So it looks like to me NVIDIA could be getting gradually less expensive here, given that the stock hasn't gone up, but they did, even though maybe slightly, outperform on some key metrics. Hyperscalers are continuing to buy these chips, and then Snowflake plus Anthropic and Snowflake's strength here in its results, doesn't that present a demand creation moment for NVIDIA?
Absolutely it does. I mean, these are remarkable results, as they have been reporting for the last 6 or 7 quarters. I think the reaction in the aftermarket is, hey, they need to do this at least 5 or 6 more times to justify the current valuation. If you think about the bull case here, and you've heard that many times today, it's that they can do $5 of earnings 2026 and trade at 35 times that. That's $175. That's the bull case. If they miss on any of those massive hurdle raises that they have for the next 5 or 6 quarters, the stock could be half of that. That's the challenge investors have to balance, is that there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Right now, though, the demand is fantastic.
Let me play Jensen's advocate here. The likelihood of them missing seems pretty low when you look at what looks like stability of hyperscaler demand and the overall software demand pouring in. Microsoft at Ignite is just making the argument that people do want its AI offerings. They're continuing to spend on this stuff. So 5 or 6 quarters from now, it might be too late to get up off a hold rating. When do you do it?
Well, so consensus estimates are that NVIDIA is going to grow 50% next year. That means all those hyperscalers need to increase their already very high levels of CapEx by 50% or more. And they've been talking about, Sundar Pichai talked about overinvestment. Satya Nadella, to you yesterday, talked about catching up on investment. Those are not terms you use when you intend to continue to invest like that forever. Those are terms you use when there's a point where you're going to push the brakes. And if that happens next year and NVIDIA has to guide to down results at any point next year, that's something investors need to be aware of.
But Gil, we're looking at data center revenue that's up 112% year on year this quarter. It's another record. And right there in the release, you have Jensen Huang talking about, basically the stack, about what this is going to mean for compute. We know inferencing is a big part of the story here. Software, partnerships. It's more than just the picks and shovels themselves in terms of the long-term trajectory for NVIDIA. So how much does that need to factor in?
Well, so I'm glad you brought up the picks and shovels analogy, because NVIDIA is selling picks and shovels. Microsoft, Amazon, Google are renting them out. But people actually need to find gold. They are not finding nearly enough gold to justify the levels of investment the hyperscalers are currently making. By our calculation, by the end of this year, Microsoft will have invested $80 billion in AI. Now, they'll have a $10 billion AI business from that, but it's still probably a money-losing business. And if Microsoft continues to increase spend, especially if it increases spend by another 50% next year, it's going to be that much harder to get a return on investment unless their customers start finding a whole lot more gold.
So if you have a hold on NVIDIA and who's finding gold is sort of up for grabs right now, where do you invest? Especially when we talk about all of this spending that's happening from the hyperscalers and others, and then the halo effect of NVIDIA through that process when you think about supply chain and this demand versus supply picture.
Well, there is some gold being found. I don't want to say there isn't any. And again, you mentioned Snowflake earlier. They're finding some gold. That's encouraging. We want to see more of that. But the company that's really finding the most gold is Meta. Meta is buying these massive data centers with NVIDIA GPUs, and they're turning it into a way to sell more ads, to sell ads for more money. And they're growing their core business faster based on this. They're the ones that are finding gold, and that makes them the best investment of the mega caps in the growth of AI.
Wild card here, another OpenAI moment, right? Either from OpenAI or somebody else that juices investors' ideas about what valuation should be.
That's exactly right. If OpenAI comes in the next few months with a model that's exponentially better than the last model and shows that compute is still scaling, that these models are still scaling with compute, that's a game changer. It'll be a game changer for everybody, and we hope that happens. If it doesn't, and there's some signs that you've been talking about that it might not, there's going to be a letdown. And all that capacity that Sam Altman is asking for from Microsoft and others, they may not give it to him, because if he doesn't show results towards superintelligence, towards AGI, towards this omnipotent tool, he may not get more capacity. That's when you may see some hyperscalers putting the brakes on.
Okay, let's look at Snow earnings. So Snow had really good earnings. I think it was up 20-something% post-market, aftermarket yesterday. So I think it held.
Time, as we mentioned, shares of Snowflake sharply higher after reporting beats on the top and bottom lines, giving strong guidance for Q4 product revenues. Snowflake also just announcing it's teaming up with Anthropic to bring Claude models to the AI data cloud. And joining us now is Jefferies analyst Brent Thill. Brent, which is a bigger deal here, the strong product revenue or these remaining performance obligations at $5.7 billion given the consumption model?
Hey, John, RPO accelerating, the biggest beat we've seen in the model for a long time, accelerating the actual guidance more than the beat. This is one of the best quarters we've seen in a long time from Snowflake. Software starting to get life back into it. We've said for the last 3 quarters, we wish we were semiconductor analysts. I think we're excited to be back as software analysts. So software's coming back, and really good to see the momentum here at Snowflake.
Brent, how meaningful is it that Snowflake is confirming this multi-year strategic partnership with Anthropic?
I think it's important. I don't think it's the end-all be-all. There are companies that we work with that are embracing 10 large language models. Intuit mentioned at their analyst day they're going to have 10. Others have 2. Some have 5. Anthropic is obviously a leader. Snowflake has been behind in AI, and Sridhar, the CEO, came from Google, had said they were nowhere really a year ago to now getting on the right page in AI. So they have a long way to go, but they're on the right track. They're improving, which is the most important thing. And we think under Sridhar's leadership, he is working 7 days a week to ensure that they get this right. So Anthropic's one of the key leaders that are out there. And so it's a good partnership to have, but I'm skeptical on a lot of these partnerships, to be honest. They tend to not go anywhere, and everyone's announcing a relationship with NVIDIA to every other vendor in the industry. So you got to be a little skeptical about the relationships.
Brent, seems like a big quarter for Sridhar, given what the stock has done so far this year, and a lot of this downdraft before he took over. How much does it matter why they have this momentum right now, and how much valuation upside potential is there given his technology background versus the operational background of the previous CEO?
Yeah, I think it's important. Snowflake's been one of the worst performing software stocks of 2024. So I think everyone was pretty critical that, the change out when you're talking about Slootman to Sridhar, he did a great job at ServiceNow and did a great job at Snowflake, but they really need to bring in more of a product-led organization. And his technical experience is really helping out. Databricks was really taking a lot of mindshare growth rate. They've done phenomenally well in accelerating their growth. And here, Databricks is accelerating and Snowflake's decelerating. So everyone's scratching their head. They're both in the data game. Why is this happening? So they need to make a quick pit stop. We've said the analogy for Snowflake with Sridhar is they went into the pit stop. They got a new windshield, a new radio, and new tires. And we think it's coming back on the road as a better car. So we think it's going to move faster. We think this is a better setup now. And again, a lot of this is led by Sridhar's technical expertise rather than the go-to-market piece.
Oh, a lot of stuff, a lot of hype in software. So, like I said, let's look at some software companies. So Snowflake was actually up 30-something percent, 33% up to $171.35, right back where we were in May. Okay, so from this bottom, so that's very good. That's very bullish. I think this is a larger base set in March 2022 down to June 2022. You see this area here. They hit again in October, September, and finally, with the new earnings, we finally bounce up at the top of the range. So yeah, Snowflake, probably something you put on your watch list, and you can look at other ones that are more speculative. Okay. RX, right? This AI/pharmaceutical. So it's both biotech and AI. I told you yesterday, below $6. Probably think about buying a bunch of it as it goes towards 5. I don't know if it'll hit 5, but yes, put that on your watch list. Another AI one is Sound, SOUN. Talked about that. as well. SOUN. We probably can hit $8, $9. That will break out. And AI, okay, this is C3 AI. Talked about it yesterday as well. Now it's continuing its way up after NVIDIA earnings, up 8% after going up 24% 2 days ago on some news. So we are at the top of this area here, above the $30 level. Can it go up to 50? Yeah, keep that on your radar. So those are the 3 stocks I'm looking at for software. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about natural gas again. So natural gas hit a high here. Same high we got in January 2024. This is spot price. So we're $3.26 per million BTUs, British thermal units. So I'm going to watch this area. But the thing is we're already late November. And what's going to happen is that this will pull back. So we're going to pull back down to this blue rectangle area over the winter, I think. I think this is the last move up. And if we look at Boyle, so it's around $51. So that's essentially $10. Okay, pre-reverse split. So we've just been hanging around from $7 to $10. Can't even get above from the October high. I'm gonna wait and see. If you want to short, you can do cold. KOLD. KOLD. I just entered at around $54 or something like that. I don't know if it can get back up to 80, but might as well give it a shot. So for now, KOLD. So if you want to short natural gas into the winter, yeah, that's the way to go. And then from spring, we'll go back to Boyle. Okay, that's the game plan for that. I can look at natural gas futures for you guys. So same thing, same structure. You see that from January 2024. So this one gives a little bit different picture, but same idea. We're above some resistance level. Will it continue to break out into the winter? I don't think so. So that's something you got to keep in mind for natural gas. Okay. Okay, I have one more video to go for this quick hour presentation. This one is Lisa Ann Sanders. I believe that's her name. Or Lee Ann Sanders or something like that. And she's from Charles Schwab. I think she's a pretty smart cookie. Let's see what she says about sector rotation and stuff. Liz Ann Sanders. My bad. Liz Ann Sanders.
Take us to our talk of the tape, the road ahead for stocks. Let's welcome in Schwab's Chief Investment Strategist, Liz Ann Sanders. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Welcome again to Impact.
It's good to be here, as always. Let's talk markets, okay? Your outlook is pretty good, at least in the near term, which you say the momentum still favors the bulls, correct?
It does, and momentum as an actual factor has been dominating. And the good news is I get a lot of questions about, doesn't this alarm you? Because the last time momentum was this dominating as a factor was in the late 1990s. But the fundamental factors most highly correlated to momentum now are things like strong balance sheet and a strong free cash flow, versus in the late 90s, the factor most correlated to momentum was negative earnings. I do worry a bit about the sentiment backdrop. I think there's a little bit of frothiness. In and of itself, that doesn't suggest a problem, but it does mean that if there's some sort of negative catalyst, the pain can be a little bit more severe. So I'd put that sentiment in the risk.
It's funny
column.
you say that, because it's picking up a little bit of steam. Chris Ferrone, who comes on our program often from Strategas, says equity flow starting to bubble.
Yep.
One of the tactical risks we see percolating for early 2025 is sentiment. I mean, there's a reason why sentiment is positive, and there's a reason maybe why sentiment has grown more positive since the election result. Do you feel that, and is that justified? And have you changed in any way your view of the markets for the new year as a result of the election?
So I think what's been characteristic of this market that goes beyond the election, because it started back in mid-July, is we're in a backdrop now of much more fierce sector rotations in a relatively condensed period of time. So measured by things like sector dispersion is really kicking into high gear. I think that's likely to continue. And I think increasingly as we get to inauguration and thereafter, a lot of that will be policy driven, tariff driven. So I think it's going to be a tricky environment to try to trade around sectors. I think there'll be more sort of common threads at the factor level than at the sector level.
Cyclicals over defensives. In other words, I mean, the things that have been working are going to continue to work. That's your view?
Well, yeah, I think momentum will continue to do well, but the rotations at times since mid-July when this really started have at times been into the more traditional defensive areas. You got a day like today where healthcare is at the top of the leaderboard from a sector perspective.
Yeah.
So I think we will have these fierce sector rotations that at times we'll have money heading back and interest back into the Mag 7, the mega cap names, but at times based on maybe skittishness in terms of an uncertain outlook with regard to policy, you might see some money snuggling more toward those classic defensive areas. So it's not really a broadening out in a traditional sense because it's these fierce whipsaw rotations. And I think that's continues to be the name of the game, certainly in the first half of next year.
Do you think NVIDIA tonight, without talking about NVIDIA as a specific stock, does it have the potential to either lead us back into the mega caps in a larger way or underscore exactly what you're talking about, the dispersion that's taken place and a movement back to more economically sensitive areas, industrials, financials, and things like that?
I think, a stock like NVIDIA, its earnings could always be make or break. That's just the nature of the popularity. But it's not just NVIDIA now. You're seeing huge action in MicroStrategy, and Palantir is actually performing better. So it is still that AI story. And I think if we can kind of keep the momentum in the numbers, that supports that theme within markets, because demand outside of AI and tech is not great. So it really is an AI story, and you have the bellwethers that either allow that to persist or maybe throw a wrinkle in. I don't have an opinion on what NVIDIA is going to report. I don't cover the stock,
sure.
But I think in terms of the traditional cyclicals or maybe the ability for manufacturing to rebound, I think that's at the mercy of uncertainty with regard to tariff policy. And obviously, we're not going to get that cleared up until at least the start post-inauguration. And we have to remember that in 2018, the goal, obviously, of tariffs is to boost domestic manufacturing. But using the ISM Manufacturing Index as a proxy, once the trade war started, ISM Manufacturing Index cratered. Now we're in sort of this lull in manufacturing at a low level, so maybe you don't crater from here, but it's hard to envision a lift in advance of knowing what tariff policy is going to be. And I would apply that to things like capital spending too. There's just a pause. Businesses are probably going to pull, they have been pulling back on CapEx, on M&A activity, and we don't clear up that uncertainty for a couple of months.
Alrighty, guys. Okay. T-Spell said I'm back. I'm going to back that NG and see what's going on there to see if you can trade it. Okay. Well, I don't know. I can't trade no futures, If you're gonna trade the futures, with natural gas is the widow maker. So that's how it is. It's hard to say, honestly. I technically am bullish long term on natural gas, but seasonality wise, since we're entering the winter, usually it's bearish for natural gas. So we'll have a dip, or we'll just go sideways. Sideways will be the best case for most people. But yeah, we're already at this area here I'm looking at for natural gas. So we'll have a pullback. If it's a deep enough pullback, as it usually sometimes is, then yeah, because a lot of this move now is just because of the recent weather reports. So the funny thing with natural gas, they have weather reports all the time from the USGS, not USGS, is it? Well, it's from NOAA, right? NOAA, whatever, whichever agency creates the weather reports, and then the European ones as well. You have two European ones, so both of them have weather models, and yeah, that will affect things. That's why natural gas is always schizophrenic. It really depends on what the weather models will give for that time period. So it's kind of like having earnings every day, even during the weekend. So a lot of times, you go through the weekend, you have a bunch of weather data to digest, and that's why you make more crazy moves sometimes. But in any case, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at the cycle analysis of natural gas. I think right now it looks kind of bullish to me, so I'll have to see. Yeah, I'll have to do some more analysis on it to see if it can survive this winter. It might. It might be enough. Do a longer term one. Yeah, if it can go through December pretty well, it might be quite bullish coming into January. But yeah, wait and see. I'll wait and see. But for now, yeah, I'll be bearish on it into December, and then see if I change my mind from there. And if I go into January a lot more bullish, then yes, because this is a huge base in natural gas that I've been waiting for since last January, right? It's started this thing since January. So this is great. This is a great long-term pattern here. And if you extend it out from January 24, we could say like February 2023, January 2023 was when it first started. So this is a much larger one. And it really depends on China, right? And a lot of the exports to other countries like Europe. So if they do a lot of natural gas, I would say yes, long-term bullish, this is good. But short-term, yeah, probably going to be a pullback at least into December. And then from December, I'll wait and see. But if it's ready to rocket now, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. So yeah, wait and see. Wait and see. I'll keep an eye on it for the next couple weeks. Yeah, definitely interesting right here. So anybody going back into boil, so this would basically be $10. This equivalent of $10 in the summer. But yeah, it can pull back to 8 again. We revisit 8, and then from there, maybe that's the time to buy. So equivalent 8 would be $40. So if it comes back to $40, then yeah, I would see if I would buy Boyle again. So anyway, just short-term thinking right there. Bitcoin at 97,700. So we'll see how it goes overnight. And if it's a move from Friday to Monday, we could see if we could buy some Bitcoin stocks again or wait until Black Friday. Okay, guys? All right, I'll see you then. I'll see if there's anything going on Friday, see if we have to update anything. But there are no major earnings today after the close into Friday morning. So hopefully it's quiet going into Thanksgiving. All right? For stocks, at least. All right. See you guys later. Oh, yeah. And hit the like, subscribe, and do the PayPal, all right? Or Cash App for Portia. Portia J with an E, okay? Or the Cash App with her email. So it's scrolling underneath right there. And I'll put it up on the screen for you again. Yeah, support the channel. If you like this stuff, if you like more of this content, we'll see you around. All right, good day.